as you said, if CJ Stroud is the quarterback that we've put him in this category of being of top 5, they should be able to go overcome this.
Stroud, little play action to start. Good protection. Airs it out for Collins. He's got it. One play. Touchdown, Texans.
You aren't going to be seeing many of those in the near future because Nico Collins, the leading wide receiver in the National Football League for 2024, a guy who is second in yards per target, second in yards per route run, and fourth in receiving yards per game since the start of last year, will be out the next 4 weeks with a hamstring injury that he suffered catching a 67-yard touchdown pass from CJ Stroud on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Some adversity for the Houston Texans. Hello, it is Gallant and George on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Not good news, Joe, for the Houston Texans.
It's not, and one of the reasons why it's not good news is because 4 weeks also might be optimistic. He's on the 4-week injured reserve, but it's a hammy. And as we've seen with other players in the past, sometimes these injuries can linger. And I know D'Amico, the second time he spoke after the injury, was a little more optimistic about the Nico Collins, and so maybe it only is 4 weeks. Like maybe this is the ultimate precaution, but it's a fingers crossed for me that it's only 4 weeks.
It cost Justin Jefferson 7 weeks last year. Every injury is different, but hamstring injuries are also injuries that re-aggravate themselves. It sucked to see this news pop up. However, and I know we live in a city where 4-1 isn't good enough for the local football team, which is, I think, off to a significantly better start than the baseball team was here in town. And yet people bought in with a lineup featuring Jose Abreu, yada, yada, yada. Whatever, I get it, rings, all that crap. I'm looking at this team, and I believe that if CJ Stroud is as good as I say he is, and I do believe that, this is not going to be the issue that people are already making it out to be. And I know that they have been through some very sluggish moments offensively without Collins. Not that much time without Collins, but he has missed some time every single year. He missed a couple of games last year. He now will miss the next 4. When you got a guy like Stroud, he's going to elevate the level of play for all the receivers around him. He's going to make life better for the offensive line in front of him. That's just what a guy like that does. So, not an acceptable excuse over the next 4 games for the Houston Texans. And those next 4 games are against the Patriots on Sunday. Worst team in the NFL, would have the number 1 draft pick if the season were to end today. At the Packers, who have Jordan Love back. A home game against the Colts, and at the New York Jets in Thursday Night Football, who just fired their head coach, Robert Saleh. They should at the very least go 2-2 over that stretch without Nico Collins. I feel like 3-1 is in the cards. The Packers game is the only one I'm really looking at with a side eye. Stroud's able to make up for the fact that they will be without Collins.
I mean, he should be. That's the standard we hold him to. Look, if you talked about any other quarterback that we put on this level, we would be saying the same thing. We talked about Patrick Mahomes. He's lost Rashee Rice. He's lost Isaiah Pacheco. Yes, he has Travis Kelce, who's obviously the best player on his team, but they keep losing guys, and he finds a way to make it work with Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt. If Joe Burrow had a wide receiver be out, we would hold him to the same standard. So I'm with you. It's not an excuse. This is where Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud have to prove how good they truly are. Because we saw last year, how much they struggled with Tank Dell off the field. And when it was really just Schultz and Nico, it did look like a different team offensively towards the end of the season until they got to the playoff game. But that's part of the reason, like DJ Bieniemy said yesterday when he was on with us, that's why it was a shrewd move to bring in Stephon Diggs. You have Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz. If you pretended like Nico Collins didn't exist, you'd be happy with that wide receiver core. Those guys catching passes from CJ Stroud. We like Xavier Hutchinson. He's shown splashes of being really talented. Robert Woods is still a good wide receiver. He's not great, but he's good. So it's not an excuse for me either. It is adversity that they have to overcome, but as you said, if CJ Stroud is the quarterback that we've put him in this category of being of top 5, they should be able to go overcome this.
You brought in Stephon Diggs. You have Tank Dell. Make it work. No excuses allowed here. And really, this, I think, falls on Bobby Slowick. You can't have an offense that's based on one wide receiver. And it does feel like at times last year, this was an offense based off of one wide receiver. Okay, it's CJ Stroud's rookie year. He's got his whoopee. He's got his little blankie that he's going to go to over and over and over again, especially after Tank Dell goes down. But time for Tank Dell to step up, actually catch the ball when it's thrown to him. Time for Stephon Diggs to step up a little bit more in a big role like this. And, of course, in a contract year, you know he's going to want to get fed the football. They're not going to be able to stretch the field in the same way that they maybe were just by default because Collins can run by everybody the first couple of games of the year. But not an excuse. This 4-1 team is capable of winning, especially against a bunch of teams that aren't very good, without Nico Collins. This should not be a gut punch, though it does feel, based off of the reactions of many, Joe, that it is a gut punch.
Some of that I view it as just how good he's been. It's not necessarily the gut punch of that the Texans are screwed, but it's the fact that he leads the NFL in receiving yards. That after only playing, what was it, a possession in the last game, that he still leads the NFL in receiving yards by almost 100 yards, I think. So it's a gut punch of it's a bummer. It's a bummer that Nico Collins.
It's certainly a bummer. I'm not
going to be
deny
out
that.
there. And you mentioned Diggs. This is his moment to earn a $25 to $30 million a year contract from another team, to go out there and be a dog and show who he is as a number 1 guy still in the NFL without Nico Collins. So this should be major motivation for Stephon Diggs. He's got to be seeing green right now with Nico Collins not on the field.